I never thought a stupid TikTok trend would end up making me question everything I thought I knew about myself. Honestly, when Jake first asked me to help him out with this video, I laughed it off like it was just another dumb internet challenge. But then, something crazy happened, and now I'm sitting here trying to unpack what the hell just went down. So here's the deal. Jake and I have been friends since college. Nothing romantic, just the kind of friendship where we could roast each other endlessly and still grab a beer every week. He's the kind of guy who's always chasing the next viral thing. And lately, he's been obsessed with these pretend to be gay TikToks, where straight guys fake being gay just to get views or mess with people. It sounds ridiculous, and honestly, it is. But Jake thought it would be hilarious if we did one together. Him and me pretending to be a couple. At first, I was totally not into it. I mean, I'm straight, I'm not about to fake that just for likes. But Jake, being who he is, made it sound like no big deal. Just a quick funny clip. Maybe a kiss on the cheek, some playful flirting. No harm, right? I agreed mostly to shut him up, and because I figured it would be funny to see how people reacted. Plus, I trusted Jake, and that made it easier. We planned to shoot the video in his apartment one Friday night. The place was cozy, dimly lit with string lights hanging from the ceiling. Definitely setting a vibe, even if it was just for a TikTok. Jake was in his element, prepping his phone, fussing over angles, and going through the script he made up, which was basically just him pretending to be head over heels for me. I was rolling my eyes, but trying to play along. Then came the moment that changed everything. The kiss scene. Jake asked if we could make it look real, just a quick, on-the-lips peck. I hesitated at first, because, well, it's weird, but then I told myself it's just acting. No big deal. The camera was rolling, I closed my eyes, and Jake leaned in. What I wasn't prepared for was how it felt when his lips actually touched mine. It wasn't awkward or gross like I expected. It was different, strange, but also kind of electric. I don't know what exactly it was. Maybe the surprise, or maybe something deeper, but I found myself completely caught off guard. Before I knew it, my heart was racing, and yeah, I got hard. I pulled back instantly, feeling like I had just broken some unspoken rule. Jake looked at me, eyes wide, probably as stunned as I was. And right there, in that dimly lit apartment, with the phone still rolling, everything shifted between us. That night didn't end with a viral video or a joke. It ended with a silence that felt heavier than anything I'd ever experienced with Jake before. And now, days later, I'm still trying to figure out what that kiss meant. Not just for the video, but for us. For me. Honestly, if you had told me a week ago that I'd be here, questioning my own feelings over a dumb TikTok stunt, I would have laughed in your face. Yet, here we are. The line between friendship and something else has blurred, and I have no idea what to do next. So, yeah, that's where I'm at, caught between confusion and something that feels way too real to ignore. And the worst part? Jake hasn't said a word about it since. The next day, I woke up with that stupid kiss stuck on repeat in my head. I kept replaying it like some awkward highlight reel that I couldn't fast forward past. I wasn't sure if I was freaked out, curious, or honestly just embarrassed. Probably a mix of all three. But mostly I felt like I'd crossed some invisible line between Jake and me, and I didn't know how to talk about it. I texted him first, which was surprising because I usually expect him to be the one to break the silence. Something dumb like, "So, did we go viral yet?" I figured a little light teasing might break the tension. But he just replied with a shrug emoji and, "Lol, not yet." Classic Jake. That night, we met up for our usual Friday hangout. This time at the same bar we'd been going to since college. The one with the cheap beer and the lame jukebox. It was the kind of place where everyone knew your name, or at least pretended to. The night was moving along like any other, until I caught Jake watching me from across the table. His eyes weren't filled with their usual mischief. There was something softer, a little uncertain. "So," he finally said, swirling his drink. "About last night, I could feel my throat tighten." "Yeah?" I asked, trying to sound casual. Like we were just talking about the weather or something. Jake rubbed the back of his neck. "I don't know. That kiss, it felt real, you know? More than I thought it would." "Me too." I admitted before I could stop myself. It caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting it to feel like that. We sat there for a moment, the noise of the bar fading into the background. It was weird, this new thing between us. There was this quiet tension, like we were both waiting for the other to say something that might change everything. Have you ever thought about, liking guys? Like, for real? Jake asked finally, eyes locked on mine. I hesitated. Honestly, I never had. I'd always assumed I was straight, no question. But now, after that kiss, doubts started creeping in like unwelcome guests. Not really, I said slowly, but I'm starting to wonder if maybe I was just too sure about it before. I don't know. It's confusing. Jake nodded, like he was glad I said it. It's okay to be confused. I've thought about it a lot more than I'm willing to admit. I guess I was hoping this video thing might help me figure some stuff out. That hit me harder than I expected. Jake, the guy who jokes all the time, was being honest about something vulnerable. And honestly, it made me want to be just as honest. So what do we do now? I asked, more to myself than him. We figure it out. Together, Jake said, with this small, hopeful smile. Over the next few weeks, things between us changed in subtle ways. We started texting more random stuff, silly memes, but also deeper conversations about identity, attraction, and what it meant to be ourselves. We went out more, sometimes just the two of us, sometimes with friends, but the vibe between us was different. Charged. One night, Jake invited me over to his apartment again. This time, there was no TikTok plan or joke. Just us, hanging out with some music, playing softly in the background. We ended up sitting closer than usual on his couch, watching a movie that neither of us was really paying attention to. Without thinking, I reached over and brushed a stray lock of hair away from his face. He looked at me, his eyes so open and vulnerable it took my breath away. And then, like before, he leaned in. This time there was no hesitation, no pretending. The kiss was slow, soft, and electric. I felt my heart pounding, but it was different now, a kind of nervous excitement mixed with a deep calm. When we pulled apart, Jake smiled like he was relieved. I think I've wanted to do that for a while, he said quietly. Me too, I whispered back. The more we explored this new connection, the more I realized how much I'd been holding back, not just from Jake, but from myself. It wasn't just about the kiss or the TikTok video. It was about finally letting myself be open to something I never thought I wanted. But even as everything felt more real, I couldn't shake the fear that this was all temporary. That maybe it was just some weird phase or a confusing moment that would pass. Worse, I worried about what our friends would think, what my family would say. I wasn't exactly in a place where I could shout this from the rooftops. One night, as we sat together on Jake's couch, I finally voiced the fear. What if this doesn't last? What if we're just messing around and it's all going to blow up in our faces? Jake took my hand, squeezing it gently. Then at least we'll have been honest with each other. And that's worth something. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that whatever this was, whatever we were, it was real and worth fighting for. But deep down, I knew this was just the beginning of a long, confusing road. And honestly, I wasn't sure where it would take me. All I knew was that Jake was the guy the first wanted to figure it out with. No matter how messy or scary it got, we kept things low-key after that night. No grand declarations, no dramatic "we're officially a thing" announcements. It felt better to just exist in that gray area where everything was new and fragile. Jake and I spent more time together, sometimes just watching bad TV, sometimes wandering the city streets late at night, talking about everything from our ridiculous college mistakes to the kind of people we wanted to be. One evening, a few weeks after that couch conversation, Jake invited me over for dinner. He insisted on cooking, which was basically a surprise since the last time he tried, he almost burned down the kitchen making ramen. But this time, he was determined to do something nice, and honestly, it felt a little like a date. His apartment was filled with the smell of garlic and something simmering on the stove when I arrived. The string lights were back, casting that warm glow I'd come to associate with these moments we shared. Jake was in his element, chopping vegetables and humming along to a playlist I didn't recognize. I lingered in the doorway, watching him move around the kitchen like he actually knew what he was doing. After a moment, he looked up and grinned. You're just in time. If you want to escape a kitchen disaster, you better sit down and pretend you're impressed." I laughed and took a seat at the small table. "I'm already impressed, chef." We ate, talking and laughing more than usual. There was an easy comfort now, like we'd found a rhythm that didn't require explanations or apologies. But beneath the laughter, I could feel the tension building, the unspoken questions that neither of us was ready to ask out loud. After dinner, we moved to the couch, like we always did. Jake put on a record, old vinyl crackling through the speakers, and we sat close. Closer than before. "Can I ask you something?" he said, his voice quieter than usual. "Shoot. Are you scared? Like, really scared about this?" I swallowed hard. "Yeah. I mean, this is new for me. For us. I don't know what it means or where it's going. Sometimes I'm excited, and other times I'm terrified." Jake nodded, his hand finding mine. "Same here. I've always known I was different, but I never thought I'd actually do something about it. But with you, it feels right, even if I'm scared." That admission hit me harder than I expected. Suddenly, it wasn't just about a kiss or a silly TikTok anymore. It was about trust, vulnerability, and maybe something real. I tightened my grip on his hand. "I don't want to lose what we have, even if it scares me." "You won't," Jake said, squeezing my hand back. "Whatever happens, we figure it out together." Those words felt like a lifeline. But old doubts lingered. A few days later, I found myself scrolling through Instagram, seeing couples, happy, seemingly perfect, and wondering if we could ever be that. I worried about how my family would react. I worried about the judgment. Mostly, I worried about whether I was ready to admit this to myself, let alone the world. Jake must have noticed my distraction, because one night, as we sat on his balcony watching the city lights, he asked, "What's on your mind? You've been quiet." I guess I'm just scared of messing this up, of disappointing people, of not being sure who I am. Jake stared out at the skyline, then back at me. "You don't have to have it all figured out right now. I don't. I'm not asking for perfect. Just honesty." That was the thing about Jake. He never pushed me. He was patient in a way that made me want to open up even when I thought I couldn't. "Thanks," I said quietly, "for being patient." He smiled, and for a moment, everything felt okay. But then came the first real test. One afternoon, Jake and I decided to meet up at this little coffee shop we both liked. It was busy, filled with people typing away on laptops or chatting over lattes. We sat outside, the sun warm on our faces. As we were talking, this group of guys at the next table caught my attention. One of them glanced over and smirked before loudly asking, "Hey, are you two together?" I felt my face flush and my heart rate spike. I wasn't ready for that kind of spotlight, not yet. Jake just smiled and nodded. "Yeah, we are." The guys exchanged looks, clearly surprised, maybe even impressed. One of them said, "That's cool, you guys seem legit." I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. Jake reached over and squeezed my hand. "See? Not so bad." But inside I was a mix of relief and panic. Relief because Jake was so natural and confident. Panic because I wasn't sure I was ready to be seen like that yet. After they left, I asked him, "How do you do it? Be so sure." Jake shrugged. "I don't have all the answers. I just know I want to be honest with myself. It's scary, but it's also freeing. I wanted to feel that freedom. I wanted to be that sure." The weeks rolled on, and with each passing day, the line between Jake and me blurred even more. We kissed in more public places, held hands when we thought no one was watching, and started to share parts of ourselves we'd kept hidden. One night, after a long walk through the city, Jake stopped me on a quiet street. He looked serious, a contrast to his usual playful self. "I've been thinking," he said, "about us, about what we want." I nodded, heart pounding. "I don't want to rush anything, but I want you to know that I'm not pretending anymore. This isn't just a joke or some TikTok stunt. It's real." My throat tightened. "Yeah, me too." We stood there under the street lamp, the city humming around us, two guys trying to figure out a complicated, messy, beautiful thing. And honestly, I don't know where it will take us, but for the first time in a long time, I don't want to look away. Because maybe, just maybe, this is what being alive feels like. After that night on the quiet street, everything felt like it shifted, but in a way that was hard to explain. We hadn't suddenly become some perfect couple with a clear roadmap. If anything, the uncertainty got thicker, but with it came this weird, raw honesty I hadn't experienced before. It was like peeling back layers I'd kept hidden from myself. And maybe from Jake, too. A few days later, Jake invited me over to watch a movie. I wasn't sure if it was just casual or if he was testing the waters. But I showed up anyway, nervous but also craving the comfort of being with him. He had that same cozy setup, string lights, snacks, and a carefully curated playlist humming softly in the background. We settled onto the couch, knees touching, and I felt this mix of excitement and anxiety that I was still learning to manage. About halfway through the movie, Jake paused it and turned to me. "Hey," he said quietly, "can I ask how you're feeling about all this?" I hesitated. It was the kind of question I'd been avoiding, but I knew I owed him honesty. "Honestly, it's confusing," I admitted. "I'm scared mostly. Scared of what people will think. Scared of what this means for us. For me. But I also feel something I didn't expect. Like, maybe I'm starting to understand myself in a new way." Jake smiled softly and took my hand. "That's real, man. It's okay to be scared. I'm scared too, but maybe we don't have to have all the answers right now." His words felt like a lifeline. I squeezed his hand back, grateful for the space he was giving me to figure things out. Over the next few weeks, we fell into this rhythm where we were more open but still careful. We told a handful of close friends, the ones we trusted most. Their reactions varied. Some were supportive and curious, others awkward and unsure, but none of it felt as scary as I thought it would. One night, Jake and I went to this dive bar downtown, the kind of place with sticky floors and neon lights buzzing overhead. We were sitting close at the bar when one of his friends spotted us and came over, a big grin on his face. "Finally," his friend said. "I've been waiting for you guys to make it official." Jake laughed, but I felt this knot forming in my stomach. I wasn't ready for that kind of public spotlight, even among friends. After his friend left, Jake leaned in and whispered, "You okay?" I nodded, but I could feel my cheeks burning. "Yeah, just not used to it, I guess." Jake put his arm around me, and suddenly, the noisy bar faded away. "We'll take things at your pace. I'm here. Always." That night, walking home together under the flickering streetlights, I realized how much Jake's presence had become my anchor. There was something about him that made the scary parts easier to face, but the biggest challenge was still ahead. Telling my family. I knew it was inevitable, and the thought of that conversation kept me up at night. Jake was supportive but never pushed me, always reminding me that I needed to be ready on my own terms. One Sunday afternoon, after a long walk in the park, I finally decided to tell my older brother. We sat on a bench overlooking the pond, sunlight dappling through the trees. "Hey," I started, heart pounding. "There's something I've been meaning to tell you." He looked curious, waiting. "I'm seeing someone, Jake," I said, the words feeling heavy but true. He blinked, then smiled. "I'm glad you told me. You know, I always thought you'd have a girl in your arm one day, but honestly, I just want you to be happy." Relief rushed through me like a wave. "Thanks, man. That means a lot." That conversation gave me the courage to start thinking about telling my parents. It wasn't easy, and I still wrestled with fears of rejection or disappointment. But Jake stood by me every step, patient and understanding. One evening, after dinner with my parents, I took a deep breath and said, "Mom, Dad, there's something I want to share. I'm dating Jake." My mom's eyes widened for a moment, my dad's face unreadable. Then my mom reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "Thank you for telling us. We love you no matter what." My dad nodded slowly. "We want you to be happy." I wanted to cry right there. It wasn't perfect, but it was acceptance. Back at Jake's place later that night, I told him everything. His grin was huge and he pulled me into a hug. "I'm proud of you," he said, voice thick. "This is just the beginning." And it was. From there, things between us grew in ways I never expected. We started calling each other boyfriend, a word that felt strange and wonderful. We took trips together, met each other's friends and families, and built this awkward but beautiful life that was ours. There were moments of doubt and confusion, times when I questioned if I was ready for everything this new reality demanded. But every time, Jake was there, patient, steady, reminding me that love isn't about having all the answers, but about showing up anyway. I still remember that first kiss like it was yesterday, the way it caught me off guard, the way it shifted something inside me. What started as a joke for a TikTok video became the start of the most real, complicated, and rewarding thing I've ever experienced. So, here I am, still figuring it out, still a little scared, but also hopeful and excited. Because sometimes, the most unexpected moments lead to the most unforgettable stories. And maybe, just maybe, this is ours. Even though things were moving forward between Jake and me, I'd be lying if I said every day was easy. The truth is, there were moments when the weight of it all crashed down on me, like a tidal wave I wasn't ready for. Sometimes it felt like I was living two separate lives, one where everything was simple and expected, and another where my whole world was shaking loose. A few weeks after telling my parents, Jake and I went to a music festival with some friends. It was the kind of event where you lose yourself in the crowd, the bass thumping through your chest, and the summer heat making everything feel electric. We'd been holding hands all day, sneaking kisses between sets. It felt natural, like we finally belonged in the same world. But then, as we were waiting in line for a food truck, I caught this group of guys whispering and throwing glances our way. One of them, a guy who looked like he was in his early 20s, tapped his friend and nodded at us. I felt my stomach tighten and tried to brush it off. Jake noticed though and gave my hand a reassuring squeeze. "Don't let it get to you," he said, voice low. I nodded, but inside I was steeling myself. Because yeah, I wanted to be proud and open, but I was also still learning how to protect myself from the world's judgment. That night, lying in Jake's bed, I finally let the frustration out. Sometimes I think I'm not cut out for this. For being out like this. I don't know if I can handle the looks, the whispers. It's exhausting. Jake pulled me close, his warmth calming the storm inside me. I get it. I really do. But you're not alone in this. We're in it together. And that was the thing about Jake. He didn't just say the words. He meant them. His support felt like a lifeline on days when everything felt overwhelming. A few days later, Jake surprised me with tickets to a theater show I'd been wanting to see forever. We dressed up, and as we walked into the venue, I couldn't stop smiling. It was moments like this, ordinary yet extraordinary, that made me realize how much I'd missed having someone who truly saw me. During intermission, we found a quiet corner, and Jake turned to me. "You know, this whole thing started as a joke, a dumb TikTok stunt. And look at us now." I laughed, shaking my head. "Yeah, who would have thought?" He looked serious for a moment. "I'm glad it did, though, because you've changed everything for me." My heart hammered in my chest. "You changed everything for me, too." We kissed again, softer this time, full of everything words couldn't say. But just as things felt like they were finally settling into something real, life threw us a curveball. Jake got an offer for a job in another city. It was a huge opportunity, the kind of thing he'd been chasing for years. I was happy for him, really happy, but the thought of being apart hit me harder than I expected. We spent the next few days talking it through, weighing options, fears, hopes. Neither of us wanted to lose what we had, but the distance was daunting. One night, sitting on the rooftop of his apartment building, the city lights stretching out below us, Jake broke the silence. "I don't want to do this long-distance thing," he said quietly. "But I also don't want to give up on my dream." I swallowed hard. "Neither do I." He turned to me, eyes shining. "Maybe the answer isn't to choose. Maybe we find a way to make it work." I wanted to believe him, but the doubt lingered. Could we really survive the distance? Would it change us or break us? We promised to try. To be honest, to communicate more, to hold on, no matter what. The weeks before he left were a blur, full of stolen moments, late-night conversations, and the kind of bittersweet excitement that comes with big changes. On his last night in town, we sat on that same rooftop, wrapped in blankets, watching the stars. "I'm scared," I admitted. "Me too," Jake said. "But scared doesn't mean stop. It means we keep going." We kissed, holding on tight like it was the only thing keeping the world from falling apart. The days turned into weeks. Texts, video calls, and surprise visits became our new normal. Some days were amazing, filled with laughter and plans for the future. Other days were hard, lonely, frustrating, filled with the ache of missing each other. But through it all, we kept going. One late-night call, Jake told me, "I can't wait for you to visit. I want you here with me." "I want that too," I said. "I don't care how far apart we are. You're worth it." He smiled, the kind of smile that made my heart ache. "You're worth it too." That's when I realized that maybe love isn't about perfect timing or easy answers. It's about choosing someone over and over, even when it's scary and messy. And with Jake, I wanted to choose that every day. So yeah, it started as a joke, a dumb TikTok stunt that flipped my whole world upside down. But what came after was real, confusing, beautiful, hard, and worth every second. I don't know where this story will end. Maybe we'll hit more bumps. Maybe we'll find a way to be together in the same city again. But for now, I'm holding on to this. Holding on to Jake, to us, and that feels like enough. After almost a year of juggling time zones, bad Wi-Fi calls, and the kind of longing that feels like it pulls your chest apart, Jake finally moved back. The moment he showed up at my door with that ridiculous grin and a suitcase in hand, everything felt like it clicked into place. We didn't need grand speeches or promises. Just that simple, quiet "I'm here" was enough. That night, as we sat side by side on the couch in my apartment, I realized how far we'd come. From a joke on TikTok to something that had changed me in ways I never expected. I thought back to that first awkward kiss, the confusion, the fear, the small victories, and all the moments in between. None of it had been easy, but it had been real. Jake looked over at me, his eyes reflecting the soft glow of the lamp. "We made it," he said, voice low but sure. I smiled, feeling a warmth that had nothing to do with the heater. Yeah, we did. There's something powerful about choosing someone every day, especially when the path isn't clear or simple. Love isn't about fireworks or perfect timing. It's about showing up, accepting the messy parts, and finding comfort in the shared silence. With Jake, I found that. We didn't need to shout it from the rooftops or have everything figured out. We just needed each other. And that was more than enough. As I drifted off to sleep that night, Jake's hand in mine, I felt a quiet kind of happiness, the kind that comes from finally being honest with yourself and brave enough to hold on to what feels right. Sometimes, the most unexpected beginnings lead to the most meaningful journeys. And for us, that was exactly how it was supposed to be.